They bout to look at the shit that I'm on, why don't we get in topic? Crew looking like Pentatonics, locked in, recording in tropics. In the East Big 3, Big Bronzy B, way good, he working on optics. Talk biz while smoking exotics, we lit, never thought about it. Just they bout to look at the shit that I'm on, why don't we get in topics? Sitting way back, all black, I'm talking, feeling like Shaq, I weigh my options. In the East Big 3, Big Bronzy B, way good, he working on optics. Talk biz while smoking exotics, it's saucy all the project, it's saucy.
What's up? RCR Presents MSD Sports. It is your host, Sam, also known as YBK. Also, you got our host, Mikey, and you got Camden. And welcome to MSD Sports, everybody! Mikey, introduce yourself. Mikey, introduce yourself.
Yo, what's good, y'all? It's your boy, Michael John. We back for episode number 10. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Coming to you from the 02135. Y'all know what it is. We about to talk some football.
Yes, sir. Camden, what's up?
What's going on, MSD crew? It's your boy, Camden Lee, a.k.a. Mr. Club Paradise in the 90250. You know what it is. Just living my best life. The air is cleaner. The sky is not fiery. Looks like I can go outside without a mask. Episode 10, we back at it. It was a crazy weekend. I'm so excited. Are you guys excited? We're back. But yeah, talk to me, Sam. What's going on? What are we doing? What are we doing this episode? What's popping?
Sir. You right. Definitely, the air quality has definitely got cleaner here in Los Angeles. And yeah, we have a lot to talk about. A lot of NFL news that happened the past weekend. And today we're going to talk about some NFL head coach changes, guys. We're going to talk about all the wildcard matches that happened, all of our predictions we did last week about it. And we're going to talk about the future, the NFL divisional matchup predictions, and many more football talks. Let's get it. Lead us off on these wildcard matches, everybody.
Yeah, well, we're going to start with the first game on the slate from this wildcard weekend. First playoff game of the year. We had the Los Angeles Chargers as a kind of a media favorite to walk into Houston and win that game, and they did not show up. It was a tough night with a final score of 32-12 in favor of the home team, Houston Texans. To highlight a few of the key stats, you had your boy CJ Stroud coming in with a solid game, nothing crazy, but went 22-33 for almost 300 yards, one touchdown, one interception. Justin Herbert put up a stinker, went 14 of 32 for 240 yards, one touchdown, but 4 interceptions. The run game was really non-existent for the Chargers. J.K. Dobbins didn't have 10 carries and didn't even break 26 yards. But Mixon kind of found his way, especially in that second half of the game, with 25 carries for a little over 100 and a tutty. Lad McConkey was the kind of the saving offensive beacon for the Los Angeles Chargers. Nico Collins played like a true number one wide receiver. The defense of Houston is really, I feel like, the highlight of this game. So, I mean, I want to open this up right away, guys. Let's talk about the QB performances here. I actually was pretty satisfied. I think Stroud had a shaky start and threw that interception real early in the game as if he was trying to throw it to the defender. Likewise, with that second one that the defender dropped. And Herbert had a really like career worst game. So we were talking a lot about these two going into the game. I would say I'm pretty satisfied with CJ Stroud's performance. And obviously, I'm sure we're all hugely disappointed in Herbert's performance, but how much stock do you put into a performance like this for Herbert? Is he Dak Prescott level of disappointment in playoffs? Is he going to get ragged on? What do you guys think here?
I mean, Mikey, thank you so much for that recap. Really appreciate it. I mean, I had the Chargers actually winning this game because I felt that Herbert, as long as he protected the ball, was going to be okay. The man had, I think, 3 or 4 picks all year, threw 4 picks in one game. It kind of changes the outlook of what you're able to do when you're not able to kind of hold on to the ball and keep the ball in your possession. I think what we talked about in terms of the pressure, I think it really got to Herbert, in my opinion. I think, Harbaugh being a coach that, is just coming into the league, I think, again, having a quarterback that he's just getting familiar with. Herbert's been in the league a couple years, but I still think Herbert was trying to do too much, where I felt like CJ, was like, hey, I need to live in this moment. He had a win last year in Wildcard weekend, so I think it was more. And that game wasn't an amazing game from CJ either, but it was enough where he was able to just do what he needed to do to keep his team out of harm's way. I think that early interception. I think they both had early interceptions, but I think the early one for CJ kind of just put him in a space for saying, I need to protect this ball because they're trying to throw it as much as they can. The biggest thing for me, which we really highlighted, Joe Mixon. You know what I mean? Joe Mixon was really able to enforce his will on the second half, and I think that really broke the backs of the Chargers, along with Herbert giving the ball to the Texans any second that he could, in my opinion. You know?
Yeah, I feel like this game also I chose the Chargers to get that W, but I give big props to the Texans defense. I mean, in the regular season, the Texans they were top 6 in yardage given up, and I feel like the 4 picks that Justin Herbert threw were, of course, mistakes, but I feel like the defense kind of turned it up in this playoff match. But I gotta say that touchdown to McConkey was crazy. What is it? It was like a 80 plus yard touchdown. So that was a pretty cool thing to see. But yeah, Justin Herbert didn't really perform as what you wanted, right? Like that, like what you said, David. I agree. Like he's been there. He's been there. He's been in those situations, and I feel like I agree. This is one of his worst starts of his whole career combined. And I just give a lot of credit to these Texans and. The Chargers were even favorites going to LA.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is what I want to know.
Yeah.
After this game, are we still calling Justin Herbert an elite quarterback, one of the best up-and-coming quarterbacks after that performance?
No, I think the thing, we've always felt like Herbert had an arm. We always felt like Herbert could throw the ball anywhere in the field. But again, he's had multiple coaches that have really kind of shaded a lot of his iniquities. And I think especially this season, watching the Chargers play, he would do enough. J.K. Dobbins was like non-existent, you know what I mean, in this game. And I think him not being able to rely on that run game on a consistent basis really showed, if we put pressure on Herbie, he's going to throw picks. He's going to make bad decisions. He's not going to be able to do checkdowns. He wants to air it out. On top of that, if McConkey eats, we can still win. I think that's the craziest thing, I think, in the entire game, that watching it. You look at the line score for McConkey. The man has 8 catches, over 100 yards, a touchdown. But then no one else kind of did anything. So if Herbert is throwing the ball anywhere he wants to the other team, and you let McConkey eat and let no one else, at the end of the day, I think it drops Herbert more into that 15, 16 discussion, you know what I mean, instead of that top 10.
He's a mid-tier.
Yeah,
you think he's a mid-tier quarterback?
Mid-tier quarterback. It's
Yeah.
not that I wouldn't want him to be, on my team as a quarterback. I think there's game breakers and there's game managers. You know what I'm saying? And I think Herbert is just a game manager, not a game maker. He's not really making the game. He's not making game day decisions or breaking down the game to really make those decisions that transform him, like one of our other quarterbacks that we'll be talking about later this episode.
I feel like Justin Herbert he's fine, but I feel like he needs more weapons. McConkey, what you said, man, that stat line is kind of crazy, right? I feel like a person like I'm going like NFL GM cap here, like a T. Higgins might be a cool addition, a good wide receiver to kind of add into this squad here, and because I feel like they do need a guy. They need that guy. I mean, McConkey is that guy, but I feel like he's young, so I feel like he needs like a guy to lean on.
They're drafting wide receivers. They're trying to draft wide receivers for him in a way. Quentin Johnston the ball was just like magnetically avoiding his hands. It was magnetizing away from his hands. But you're right that some weapons could help. I still feel if you have the record for passing over the first 5 seasons, if you're able to have done it with the cast around him, then it is hard to like justify that he needs more, at least for me.
Yeah.
What about CJ Stroud, though? Are we calling I think CJ Stroud, I'm not going to lie, had a disappointing year, but I think he looked great in this game. After a shaky start, I think he looked great, and I think he's on the cusp of elite. He's not Burrow, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen level, but he's one below. Whereas Herbert, I think, went down one level.
Well, I think you listen, Mike. When you lose, you know what I mean. Your number one wide receiver with Stephon, who you traded for, or he came earlier this year, so you thought you was gonna have a real number one. Then you lose your boy Tank. Then Neek goes in and out the lineup. I think it's very difficult for you to have continuity. If you know, MSD Sports is great with the three of us, but if me and Sam are out the lineup every 10 seconds, it makes it very difficult for us to be productive. I think it's the same thing with CJ. And to be honest, you know what I mean? That's why I love my boy Mikey. Like CJ really was holding it down, I think, despite of the situation. And I think for me, I think CJ has always been someone that I've looked at and said, hey, you got the tools. You got a great mind. You got great instinct. Let's give you a couple weapons around you and see what you can do. I think this was his first year. We gave him some weapons and everybody was hurt. So yeah. I'd love to see what he looks like as a full year of everybody healthy. I don't expect them to be as a wild card. You know what I mean? I don't expect them to be in the wild card. You know what I mean? Fighting to get in. I just don't.
I feel like.
And where are you ranking him on your tier list?
I think we talked about this in the past episodes on CJ Stroud. I feel like we need more sample size. This is his sophomore year. This was a great wild card match for him to kind of put on his resume. I mean, you got to give it to Joe Mixon too. Like what David said, big credit to him for that W. But CJ Stroud is on pace. But he's not that Mahomes, Josh Allen level yet. But he's on pace. Like what you said, Mike, I totally agree. Justin Herbert kind of went down on his kind of value stock, and then it was kind of like a switch, and then CJ kind of went up a little bit. But we need more sample size on CJ, in my opinion. He's second year. He didn't really perform this regular season, but this is where it counts, right? So let's see how he does against these Chiefs, though.
I would highlight one play from the first half, which was when they could not move the ball for their life, the Houston Texans, and CJ Stroud ran for his longest carry of the year, a 27-yard scramble where he tucked the ball, he swerved some dudes, and he said, I'm going to run. A little bit of an awkward slide there, but I thought that was the moment. It was Mahomes-esque, right? We don't really think of Mahomes as more elusive, like a scrambler in the sense of just I get out, I'm elusive, not like Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels. We're drawing you a run, Jalen Hurts-esque. So I thought that was a great play to highlight. The last thing I want to touch on from this game is how much credit do we and onus do we put on the coaches? Because for me, the DBs played incredible, as we kind of highlighted they would. Derek Stingley Jr. particularly with 2 interceptions and locking down. And D'Amico Ryans is a defensive coach. Yeah. Harbaugh, I can't really necessarily blame him. I don't really peg him as much of like a quarterback whisperer as much as I peg him as like a hard-nosed team effort, defensive effort. And it's hard to blame him when you have a quarterback make interceptions, right? Some of them were good defended balls, but Herbert straight over threw McConkey well over his head into a pick 6 in that second half. And plays like that, I don't want to blame the coach. So I tend to say really good performance by D'Amico Ryans, and I would still chalk it up as a first-year success for Harbaugh. We got to give him another year, and then we'll see if you have an unceremonious exit again like this. Maybe we look at Harbaugh. But what are you guys thinking on the coaches in this game?
Well, Harbaugh's always struggled with the pass rush. You look at when he played his brother in the Baltimore Ravens, that 4-man pass rush was legit. And I think we don't give enough credit, in my opinion, to the Texans pass rush. They didn't have a lot of sacks, but they disrupted Herbert so much. And I think that really transcended the game. You got CJ Stroud winning 2 playoff games in his first 2 years. Like, that is huge. Like, Dak Prescott has not won a playoff game. You know what I'm saying? You got guys who, like even Russell Wilson hasn't won a playoff game in a few years. So the fact that you can have a guy in his rookie season come in, win a playoff game, his comeback in where normally the sophomore slump is a real thing, for him to come back again and get there, I think it really shows that coaching staff really believes in CJ, has really let him know, hey, you are our guy. We trust you. We go as far as you go. Do what you need to do. So having that defensive-minded coach is amazing. And I think Harbaugh, he's more of like a player's coach manager. Checking in. Hey, how you doing? How's the produce over there? Hey, how you doing? How's the meat? Hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? Let's have a great spirit when we're all at work. Not, oh, like, we're gonna hunker these down. We need to watch this play, this situation, watch him to do this, that type of thing. So detail oriented really matters in the playoffs, and the Chargers had no finesse whatsoever.
All right. Should we go on to these Steelers versus Ravens game, everybody? These Ravens
Yes, sir.
at their own home stadium in Baltimore took the W 28-14, everybody. And this game, everybody, it was all about King Henry. This man went 26 carries, 186 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, Lamar Jackson did his work, 16 for 21, threw for 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he ran for 80 somewhat yards. But man, oh man, I feel like this whole game while watching this, everything was on the Ravens side. It felt like the fans, the atmosphere, the weather, the players. I feel like everything was on a checklist for these Ravens, and I feel like it was all checking. But I mean, you can't blame on Russell Wilson, but I feel like everything just led on to these Ravens, and I feel like, man, oh man, they're a dangerous team coming to this postseason, and I want y'all to talk about this game, guys. What you got?
Ooh, I mean, listen, you got King Henry and Mr. Jackson doing what they always do, which is throwing and running the ball. I mean, we all knew that the Ravens were going to win. The question was, what was the score going to be? You know what I mean? Was it going to be a 44-10 thumping? Was it going to be a 28-14? Was it going to be a 42-21? You know what I mean? We were debating, but we all knew the Ravens were going to win. To be honest, the Ravens did look a little sloppy to me. I do understand that they won by 2 touchdowns, but they really looked like they weren't in sync on some actions. I felt like Zay Flowers really wasn't. Zay Flowers really was needed, and him not being there, I understand might not affect this game when, you know what I mean, you're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I think in the following game next week, I think it's going to matter so much. King Henry returning to the playoffs. We need to stop and say that one more time. King Henry returning to the playoffs. 26 carries, 186 yards. Nasty business. So when King Henry's getting more than 22 touches, the Ravens are undefeated. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I think one stat speaks to me, particularly this game. All flowers due to Lamar Jackson, who probably will and should win MVP this year, even though I probably would vote for just Josh Allen. No stats registered for TJ Watt. I think that's the most important stat line that to be said about the Pittsburgh Steelers. No stats registered by TJ Watt. Not a tackle, not a pressure, not a sack, not a forced fumble, nothing. So this team isn't going to win. You're not going to beat a team like the Ravens. It didn't feel like a division rivalry game to me.
No.
There was no sense of urgency because for me, I've always known the Pittsburgh Steelers as when Ben Roethlisberger was there was a little bit more of the quarterback might pull something out, but it's always been the defense. It was right. The bus, I guess Jerome Bettis back in the day was a beast. I'll say that. But Troy Polamalu and the defense of the steel curtain, there was no sense of defensive urgency in the second half. I give credit to Russell Wilson. Like Sam, you said, I don't think we could blame Russell Wilson. I was very surprised with how well he played when they were down 21-0 and it looked like the game was done. And he put up 2 touchdown drives in a row to keep trying to make it a game. The defense parted like Moses entering the Red Sea. It was crazy. Like Derrick Henry is a beast, but they did not seem inspired to tackle this guy. And I don't really have much to dissect here. That's basically how I feel. I think the defense did not seem to be playing with an urgency like, this is our playoff life. We need to get a stop to win this game. And as a result, Lamar Jackson did his old 80 yards, $175, no turnovers, couple touchdowns, and King Henry ate, and he's going to keep eating. if the Bills defense doesn't come with a sense of urgency.
I mean, Mike, one of the things that I really like want to highlight as well, like Russell Wilson surprisingly like did his job. Like he did his job. Like he got the ball to Pickens, which he needed to. He got a touchdown from Jefferson. You know what I mean? I think coming into this game, we thought it was going to be more of a field goal type of game. Guys were going to get into the red zone, but then not be able to convert. And for me, I'm really hoping that the Pittsburgh Steelers bring Russ back, because I think it showed when the grit really meets the road, he's willing to do what he needs to do. Not a lot of running. I know they were down late, down early, so he did have to gunsling a lot of the time. But the run game wasn't really effective in any shape or form. But that's been Pittsburgh most of the year. How did we feel about Lamar? And Sam, I really want to bring this question to you. How did we feel about Lamar being 16 for 21? Those 5 incompletions. Did we feel like it was on him? Did we feel like it was just the atmosphere? Did you feel like the nerves? Like, you know what I mean? He's usually 18 for 20. You know what I mean? 19 for 21. So,
yeah. I feel like I'm not worried about Lamar Jackson's performance, even if he missed those 5 receptions. I feel like I'm not worried at all. Like what you said, I mean, missing Zay Flowers, your number 1 wide receiver, is huge. But we saw King Henry do extra work. You know what I'm saying? When he went overtime, running those 186. But yeah, I feel like there's no worry. I'm not worried at all. Lamar, I'm sure he, some nervousness got to him. It's playoffs.
Agreed. I mean, 76% completion percentage would have led the league this year. So I think anyone will take that if you can get that.
I have another question.
I will say,
yeah, I'm sorry. I have another question.
Say one player.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no,
my bad. So I have a question about the other side on Russell, on how David said he wants to bring him back. But a year ago, they lost by 14 in the wild card. Last week, they lost by 14 against the Ravens. This year coming in after this loss, this is Steelers' 5th loss in a row. But David said he'll bring back Russell. But Mikey, I want your opinion. Would you bring back Russell with this core of offense or not?
To be honest, not as a disrespect to Russell Wilson, but you make a fair point that you are going to keep being in no man's land if you continue with the same formula every year. Because Mike Tomlin never has a losing season, but when's the last time they won a playoff game? Even the last time they were favored to win a playoff game, they lost to Baker Mayfield and the Browns back a few years back. I forget if it was 5-6 years ago, 4 years ago. But even that game, they got gunslinged. They got out. They were down 28-0 and tried to make a comeback late, but couldn't pull it off. No disrespect to Russell, he deserves a contract. But if you're really trying to succeed here, something you need to acquiesce to the new sort of NFL, which is a dynamic quarterback that can win you a game, a la Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen.
Gotcha.
The problem with that, though, is that the Steelers never draft high enough where they could even get a quarterback of that caliber. When you're doing the same old thing and you're a 500 team barely squeaking into the playoffs on Wildcard weekend, like you're drafting in the 20s. You know what I'm saying? Or like 19, 19, 21, 22. You're not drafting, you're not getting a top 10 pick. So I think having to rely on really expert drafting, I think is tough for them. 2, finding a quarterback, which has been difficult to say the least for them over the last couple years since Ben left. I mean, guys, can you understand that they had a chance to have Lamar and passed up because of the fact that they wanted to keep Big Ben around for an extra year or 2?
Oh, no way.
Like,
That's crazy.
Yes. So it's not an issue of, okay, like they are a great team and they are a great organization and the Rooneys are phenomenal in terms of owners, but do we keep Mike Tomlin? Does Mike Tomlin need to go? George Pickens says it after the game. Do you have any optimism for next year based on how this year went? He said no. He said no, none whatsoever. So if your star wide receiver is saying, I don't think anything gonna change, TJ want to win, might be time to trade TJ. Maybe you get a top draft pick. Maybe you might get a couple picks. Maybe you might do something. Because this above 500, squeaking in the playoffs, losing every round, great. For the last 20 years, it's been awesome. Kudos.
Well, you're right. They did give up Lamar Jackson.
I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, 31 teams passed on Lamar Jackson.
Wow.
31. 31.
That's nuts.
31. All y'all.
Good for the Ravens. Good for the Ravens. Holy.
Good for the Ravens.
Wow.
Listen. Let's get to the next game.
All right.
Because
You're
you're
right.
gonna get me all upset about these guys passing on Lamar and Lamar, Mr. Jackson going crazy. Listen. The Denver Broncos played the Buffalo Bills. And honestly, this was a game I was looking forward to all week. This is a game that me and the homies was just listen. We were talking behind the scenes. We were texting pregame. This is two of my favorite quarterbacks in the AFC going at it. And honestly, it definitely delivered. First drive of the game, Bo Nix comes out hot out the gate. Touchdown. Bang, bang. I thought they were going to give Buffalo a run for their money. However, the winner was the Buffalo Bills, 31-7. Bo Nix put up that touchdown. He never put up nothing after that. You know, James Cook came to play, 120 and a touchdown. Josh Allen came to play. Like I said, Superman in this mug came to play, 2 touchdowns. And if you guys didn't see the play, let me break it down for you. It's 4th and 2, okay? I'm at my 40. They're 40. Okay, so the field goal gonna be about 60 yards. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go for it. So sure, maybe a nice little run, maybe a nice little pass. I'm gonna get the first down. I'm gonna call it that. You know what I decided to do? I decided to put my Superman cape on. Okay, gunsling that joint, 45, maybe 55 yards into the end zone for a touchdown on a 4th and 2 at the 44. Josh Allen. If he doesn't win this MVP due to Mr. Jackson having a career year, I gotta say he might be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I was talking to Mikey and Sam, texting them saying, I said Superman about to put on his cape. And yes, he did. So 31-7, there's not a lot that you can say really about this game. You know what I mean? I think Denver came to play for one series and it was over. You know, the running game for Denver was pretty much non-existent, and it was the offensive line for the Bills being a brick wall for Mr. Superman, where he could spend his entire day back there, pitch a tent, have a nice time, have a little food, gunsling whenever he wants. So I thought it was going to be a lot closer game. You know, I thought it was going to be a thriller in Manila or thriller in Buffalo, and it just turned to a haymaking punch from the Buffalo Bills. But I got to give credit to my boy Josh Allen. You looked like I said, you're going to put on your cape and you're going to do it too, and you put on your cape. How do we feel, guys? How do we feel?
I mean, this is what Bills Mafia. Put your hands up in the air and shake it hard right now, because y'all are looking great for the AFC right now, for the Super Bowl chase. I mean, you said it, David. You said everything right now. Man, oh man. Josh Allen, Superman, 31-7. Broncos going to do anything. All I can say is, man, watch out for these Bills in this AFC. I mean, we just gave credit to the Ravens right now, but this is a different story right now. This is from the beginning of our podcast. These Buffalo Bills looking dominant in this playoffs. Mikey, how you feel about your squad over here?
It was how I expected the game to go. I think it was a shaky start because it was actually a 10-7 game at halftime. It was really the second half that the Bills punctuated the game. The touchdown to Ty Johnson was absolutely filthy. I do think it was a catch. Some people were debating, what did the leg go down? When you call it a touchdown, it looked like by the eye that was a catch. He had his hand under the ball. Was the ball moving when he slid out of bounds? Perhaps. Doesn't matter. It was a great, great throw, ballsy throw on a 4th and short to do that. But it was in opponent territory, and the Broncos couldn't run the ball all day. The one play that gave me hope for the Broncos in the first half was when they ran the fake punt, because Sean Payton, you know how Sean Payton is. He liked the onside kick when you're unexpected, but now that the onside kick has all but been eliminated from the NFL with kicking rules, the fake punt was beautiful, but you needed to parlay it into points. And to have to punt from the Buffalo 40 after like that drive was when I knew Denver needed to capitalize on that moment there. The run game being non-existent, hard to win a playoff game when your run game is non-existent. Josh Allen, we talked about what weapons will he go to before the game. He stuck with people that he was familiar with. It was really like Khalil Shakir, who had a nice game. He had the most receptions for them, 6 catches for 61 yards. But then he had a few to Dalton Kincaid, a few to Dawson Knox, and really the rookie Keon Coleman and the latest addition Amari Cooper were not necessary. And that's what makes Buffalo dangerous, a balanced attack. What happens if you shut down Derrick Henry? What happens if Lamar Jackson can't get going in the pass game? And so, with that being said, this next coming matchup is going to be an interesting one. Buffalo has not lost a game at home all year. They're 8-0 at home. Damn. Now 9-0 after that playoff game, including playoffs.
Don't lie. Stats don't lie.
No, they do not. I mean, one thing I do want to give my flowers to Bo Nix. I know you played very hurt all year, the last couple games. I really just want to appreciate you just kind of doing your thing, stepping up. I mean, you're going to be a quarterback for the future. Keep your head up. Like, you know what I mean? You're playing Superman, bro, and like it just is what it is. Don't feel bad about that. Many men have lost to the Superman cape. But yeah, I think seeing Denver just not having the players to really compete just on a continuity basis, I think it really talks about that salary cap issue with Russell Wilson a couple years ago. You know what I mean? Denver is still paying some of Russell's salary. They're still dealing with the atrocity that they did, kind of giving that much money to him, and they've been in salary cap hell for the last couple years. So the fact that, you know, Sean Payton can be able to pull off this team and put them in a position to at least, you know, you're down at halftime by 3 points against the Bills, who probably are going to make it to the AFC Championship, could possibly make it to the Super Bowl. I think that's a great place to hang your hat on for the year. You come back, you lick your wounds, you get stronger. We get Bo Nix in the gym a little bit more, maybe get him some weapons, which are going to be difficult, again, because of the salary cap. But maybe we draft a little bit better and we do something. So, you know, kudos to the Broncos. I think I really appreciate what you guys are doing, but the Bills were just overmatched. It was just too much. So, I mean, I have a question. You know, we've had another, you know, kind of first-year guy, right, or first or second-year guy make it to the playoffs. We're going to talk about another one in a little bit. How are we feeling about these young bucks, you know, making it to the playoffs with these teams that really don't deserve it? Do we think that, you know, these college guys are coming in more prepped, more elite, you know what I mean, more ownership? Well, I don't know if it's me, but I have never seen first and second year guys even sniff the playoffs. Might as well kind of hold their own, at least for a half.
I mean, coming from a guy who don't really watch college football much, but like, you know, keeping up with like the media in terms of like, you know, like content and like videos, guys, I'm seeing like these college facilities over like 20, 30 million, $40 million facilities for college sports now. And like these college athletes are getting treated as if like, well, it is still pro level, right? College is still pro, right? But it's not like the NFL or NBA, but these facilities and these like the trainers, the doctors, the sports technology in terms of medical, like I feel like it has been gone to a level of excellence, I feel like. And I feel like even like body conditioning And I don't really know much about the college sport, but like even seeing that, the facility and like how they treat their athletes and how much they care and how much they invest in these guys, I feel like, man, it's getting better and better, and I feel like that's why these athletes are ready, feels like, in playoffs, these youngins.
Yeah, I think IQ is a big part of it as well. I think Bo Nix was underrated all year because we focused on other rookies that were having great years. So someone like Bo Nix had a great year, but kind of came in slept on. But there's another quarterback like Jaden Daniels, who's most likely going to win Rookie of the Year. The offenses are tailored toward college style now more than they were 10 years and 20 years ago. So the reason why it was so surprising to see Tom Brady keep the reins, and it was like this young guy, not even a rookie, just a young guy keeping, wow, he's taking over the position, like Dak Prescott when he took it away from Romo, was really calm and poised in the pocket, and you're like, wow, that's incredible. Now you see, I'm sure you'll hear the phrase a lot, RPO, RPO, designed
Pass
QB
option.
runs. So you have Anthony Richardson and Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels. The offense is tailored to their success more now than it was 20 years ago and 15 years ago. So Patrick Mahomes was an anomaly because that dude scramble and and knows how to had offensive weapons and knew how to read it. These newer quarterbacks, I would say, the tailor of the NFL seems to be it's stylized for them to succeed more, and that's where you see their success.
Well, all right, all right. Shall we move on to the NFC, everybody?
We have to.
All right, let's
You're
get it.
waiting. You're
Let's
dying for
get
this
it.
segment,
All
Sam, I
right,
know.
everybody. We took place in the Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. Packers versus Eagles. Eagles here take the W, 22-10, and I mean 22-10. Look at this first play of the game, everybody. First play of the game. Packers ball. We kick it off. Return fumble. Eagles get the ball back. We score fast in that drive. But man, I just want to give a shout out to this Eagles defense, guys. This is 10 points to these Packers, and I mean, we did have a little struggles in the offense, but I mean, we came out strong in terms of offense, 22, but I give big shout out to our defense, guys, and I feel like our defense might take us pretty far. And of course, the offense is a little messy here and there, but talk about the Eagles, guys. How'd you guys feel about this game?
You know, I knew that the Eagles are gonna win. I just didn't think the Packers were gonna look so bad. Like, when I say the injury bug hit the Packers at the worst time of the year, like Jordan Love gets hurt in the first few games of the season. Okay, cool. He's out for a little bit. You guys are still winning, you know what I mean, with a backup. Cool. Then he gets hurt again, and you have wide receivers hurt, and you got guys banged up. Josh Jacobs was banged up, and you kind of saw the whole thing just kind of fester in this situation. Jordan Love had 3 picks, guys.
Yep.
He looked absolutely terrible, like abysmal. The money, mind you, the Packers just gave him a bag. He looked like he would look like a backup quarterback. So I think 2 things that I want to say that's really mainly on the Eagles. They look terrible. The Eagles look bad, still won by 12. And it was a close game still towards the end of the fourth. But to say that the Eagles looked great or played their best game in any way, shape, or form, not even close.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw A.J. Brown reading, thoughts of inner peace, reflections of inner peace on the sideline because the man had, I think, 3 targets and only had 1 catch.
One target.
Right, one target. I thought at least he looked 3 times. Mug didn't even get looked at 3 times. 1 target.
Yep.
What you gonna do with 1 target?
Well, he got one reception, but he did have 3 targets.
That's what I thought.
That is correct.
Okay. I was checking my number. I'm making sure.
Oh, okay. You're right. My bad.
Well, yeah, he had 3 targets. He had 3 targets, and he had 1 reception. Come on, Pimpin', what you supposed to do with that? So, and seeing the game, Philly is in trouble. I think Jalen being out those last couple weeks, that concussion, he's looked a little shaky. Mikey, how are we feeling? Because did the Eagles look good to you? Because they didn't look good to me.
I don't think they looked great. The defense looked very, very solid, and that's what you should lean on. I don't think that we talk about you need like a mobile quarterback or like an explosive quarterback to help get you to the promised land, but it's not always true. A well-rounded defense will get you there. And I'll quickly address the to AJ Brown, like reading on the sideline. I feel like it's just a storyline for people to talk about more than it is like an issue. Because I'm sure if you ask AJ Brown, would he prefer to have a better stat line and not win the game? He's gonna say all every time and with conviction that he would rather win the game. So I think it's like a bit of an overblown stat line. I think the Packers really fell short on offensive dynamic plays. And we talked about who was going to step up. I think Josh Jacobs was the only player. There was a couple runs where Jacobs was taking dudes on, shimmying 4 or 5 players and shedding tackles and fighting. He felt to me the one player on the Packers who ran the ball like we can do this. Let's make something happen. So I give all the credit to Josh Jacobs because I didn't think that he was going to be a great signing coming from the Raiders and being like, yeah, he's coming off good seasons, but do running backs at this age perform well? He was their saving grace in this game that helped keep them in it. And it was a really disappointing performance when your head coach says the next step for my quarterback is to be more vocal and be a vocal leader, which is what Matt LaFleur said about Jordan Love after the game. It tells you where they're at. Good enough to make the playoffs, good enough to be great, and he's a serviceable quarterback. I believe that Jordan Love is still a franchise quarterback. Even though he had 3 picks, I do feel there was one late game that you're forcing the ball downfield because you're trying to make something happen because you need to score and you're already at 4th down on a drive. So it's basically like a punt. You're forcing balls down the field. He's got to make a step this year. Herbert is a step lower, in my opinion, how we talked about Herbert earlier. Love, I still hold him slightly a little bit above, but he's got one more year to show it, but I still find him to be a franchise quarterback.
The injuries really made a big difference. And I think for him, I think he's just been hurt. You know what I mean? And obviously, if you're on the field, we can't say anything about you being hurt because you're playing. You know what I mean? Shannon Sharp says it best. If you're available, we don't want to hear nothing from you. But I think he was hurt. It was tough. Josh Jacobs looked like Shady McCoy back there. I'm not gonna lie. He looked crazy. He did look crazy. So I do got to give it to him for sure. Sam, how did you feel about your Eagles, especially for next week? There was a couple plays that I saw Jalen running the ball when he didn't really. I felt like they didn't need to. What are your thoughts on that? You know what I mean? Are they just throwing some wrinkles in for next week? Do you feel like even the book was a little bit of chess while everybody's playing checkers?
In terms of next week against the Rams here, I'm not really worried here. Jalen just came back from 3 weeks? 3 weeks? Yeah.
Yep.
3 weeks from his injury, and I feel like he was a little shooken up here. He wasn't really accurate as well in this game. He was 13 for 21. Like that, I feel like it's more of a concern to see. But like I said, I feel like it's more of a shake it off kind of game. Yeah, bro. Seeing Devontae 55 yards, AJ Brown 10 yards. This is not the Eagles football that we're used to seeing. So I'm not worried about these Rams. We versed them in 2 months ago at SoFi, and that was when Saquon did his record-breaking, franchise-breaking rushing yards. So I'm not worried here. Kudos to the defense here. Another great defensive game for the Philadelphia Eagles here for me. So I'm not that worried. But I feel like one question I have for y'all for the Packers point of view is, are you trying to find a wide receiver 1 now in the offseason? Because I do agree with Mikey on the Jordan Love situation where he is a franchise quarterback. And I feel like, do you guys think they need a bona fide 1 now in this offseason for the Packers?
We've been saying that about a lot of teams, though. I feel like we keep saying they need a number one, and like T. Higgins is going to be the best one on the market, and only one team's going to land him.
Right.
So I feel like we can't bail out every team and just be like, you need a bona fide number one. You just need to play with what you have because they have Jaden Reed and they have Romeo
Watson.
Dobbs and they have Dontavion Wicks and they have Christian Watson, who are all high draft picks. Patrick Mahomes this season has not been outstanding. He had like 4,000 passing yards, 26 tutties, and 11 interceptions. That's his approximate stats. Mm-hmm. But he's winning games. Like Tom Brady didn't need to have Randy Moss to win a Super Bowl, and he didn't win the Super Bowl when he had Randy Moss and Deion Branch on the team. It was years when you find a way to make it work with your system. So I don't want to. I feel like it's a misconception to be like you need a bona fide number one, and that's what you're missing in order to win.
Gotcha.
Look at what just happened with the Vikings.
Yeah. Well, I think that, and I think too. Just before we get to the next game, I think the wide receiver room in Green Bay is so young. You know, and a lot of the older wide receivers, the Allen Lazards, drivers, a lot of these guys, they're gone. Even like Allen Lazard's in on the Jets right now with Aaron Rodgers. So, like I say, Jordan just got his bag, right, this past year. So he's probably feeling himself. He spent a little extra money during the offseason. He's probably at the club a little bit too long. So his body wasn't really strong, so he got hurt. Cool. He gets hurt this year. Let's wait till next year. Let's see if one of these boys can really step up, really solidified, because obviously in and out the lineup, being hurt, everything like that. Let's see if one of these young bucks can really step up, and then we can kind of see what everybody's looking like. But one thing I will say, GM Sam, that, you know, I don't think that they need a wide receiver one. I think they need a veteran wide receiver to kind of give them a little bit more ganache.
Like a Thielen vibe?
Yeah, like
leadership,
a Thielen.
leadership,
bro.
leadership. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair.
And I think Thielen's a great player for that. You know what I mean? Just someone who can teach them how to be a professional, how to work, how to get open. That's the biggest thing. How to get open when you need to get open.
You're right.
And hopefully Love can build some more continuity. So
before we move on from this Eagles game, though, you mentioned about Jalen Hurts and the rushing attempts. I will say he only carried the ball 6 times, and his average carries before the concussion just this year is 10 per game. And so if you can lean on Saquon running the ball 25 times and having over 100 yards, he doesn't need to average 6-7 yards per carry. If he averages 4.5 yards a carry and runs the ball 25 times a game, your Eagles are fine. This is a good matchup. It's better that I would have actually been more worried for the Eagles to play the Commanders than playing the Rams, because a division opponent is always more of that rivalry.
You know each other.
You're scouting about each other,
like
precisely.
Like your brother on the other side.
I'm excited for that one. But hey, speaking of the aforementioned Commanders, that was, I felt like, a very solid and a closely contested game in a weekend of games that weren't always closely contested for this playoffs, actually. So the Commanders rolled into Tampa Bay, and Jaden Daniels, as a rookie, came through with a 23-20 victory. Courtesy of a nice little doink. We love walk-off doinks. And yeah, I think that this was a very interesting game. So a lot of the players that we figured that would be prominently involved going into this game happened to be the players that performed well. Bucky Irving did his thing, not like an eye-popping game, but 17 totes for 77. Not bad at all, serviceable. Mike Evans, a veteran, reliable player, 7 catches for 92 yards and a tutty. Jaden Daniels did his thing as not only the leading rusher, but of course throwing the ball and taking care of it. Only took 1 sack and threw 2 touchdowns, 270 yards. Very solid game. No turnovers as well for the Commanders. And there's been only one other quarterback who we mentioned as a really solid postseason quarterback, Peyton Manning, to come in as a rookie and to not punt the ball and not turn the ball over on the road. Jaden Daniels deserves some respect. The big surprise performance of the game for me was De'Ami Brown, who is in his 4th or 5th year and it was drafted in the 3rd round out of UNC. De'Ami Brown, respect, 5 receptions, 89 yards, and a touchdown. Had a career day
Oh.
in the playoffs. So big respect to him. And so I'll open this up kind of like we did a few games ago. How are we looking at the performance? Because the big difference to me between the performance of Jaden Daniels and Baker Mayfield was 1 or 2 mistakes. Whereas Jaden Daniels only took 1 sack, but no interceptions, no fumbles. Baker Mayfield didn't throw any interceptions, but had some costly turnovers. Yeah. Took some sacks that were big, but also a fumble in the 4th quarter that he took responsibility for. Unclear whether it was Jalen McMillan was supposed to have a fake on the handoff. Was he just supposed to be in action across the backfield to get some movement by the DBs or linebackers? How are we looking at both of these quarterbacks who I think all of us kind of said they were on close to an elite level coming into the playoffs? How are we scaling their performances?
I feel like,
Sorry, Sam, go.
Oh, okay. I was watching this game, and I feel like this game was great teams, but man, these mistakes that these Bucks made in the 4th when it matters. What I'm saying? Like the playoffs is such a sensitive time where, like, even the littlest of mistakes affect the outcome, and I feel like even like the miss like handoff to McMillan, number 15. Even that, like those mistakes that lead to Washington getting the ball back and they score, and you know what I'm saying, and then even like the events that happen even afterwards, it's just the little mistakes that the Commanders capitalized. But give big props to Daniels for sure. I mean, the guy joins the list with CJ and Brock Purdy of like, rookie quarterbacks to win an NFL playoff game. And as we talked about, David, about these youngins like winning these playoff games, like it's cool to see. And the magical season Jaden Daniels been having with these Commanders in this 2024-2025 season is pretty delightful to see. David, how do you feel about? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I might be having some technical difficulties, so if I go out, I'm still going to be talking. Don't worry about that. The biggest thing that I kind of saw from Jaden, and we all felt like this game was going to be close. None of us felt like it was going to be a blowout either way. I just felt like, Mikey and I have been talking about Jaden all year, and there was something with Dan Quinn and him I just felt really confident about. Jaden Daniels is that dude. He might be one of the best rookies I've ever seen. You know what I mean? As a pure rookie, in my opinion, Patrick Mahomes is obviously one of the greatest guys I've ever seen throw the ball, even during that week 17, 16 that he came in. But in terms of a pure rookie, it's your first season, it's your first time in the building, it's your first time doing your thing. When I tell you they looked absolutely unbelievable, and Jaden's composure, especially something that we talked about these rookie quarterbacks coming into the league, winning these playoff games, the composure that they had was just unbelievable. And he tucked it and ran when he needed to. And I think that is the difference between the both quarterbacks. I think Baker was a little nervous. He looked a little shaky. Seemed like, hey, I'm feeling a little bit like, this game is getting out of my control. Not because I'm doing anything wrong, but because Jaden's not making mistakes.
Do you really think so? Baker, in my opinion, had an equally good running day, because Baker had that one scramble where he plowed over the DB. He had that one run, just like how he did against the Saints, that kind of put the fire into his team. And he also was 15 of 18 throwing the ball. I mean, at least personally, I don't really feel like Baker looked like there was the one mistake with the fumble, which I feel like, I'm not sure if it's nerves that really did it other than timing. Because there was that other play where the lineman snapped the ball too early. And so on that 3rd and short, the lineman didn't get the count right on the hard count and snapped the ball way too early. Not really sure if I'll blame it on anyone besides just a lapse. I'm not sure if it's nerves more than it is just a mistake, as simple as that. It's just a lack of execution.
Just wrong
I would
timing,
be concerned. Yeah, I'll be concerned, though, as a Washington fan.
Yeah.
if you run the ball 33 times and you only get 82 yards out of it. Because
good point.
these teams in the playoffs are going to want to control the clock. The Buffalo Bills controlling the clock was a big reason why they performed so well versus the Denver Broncos. So I think that that's a big concern. If I was going in to play a team like the Lions, if you can't control the clock and move the sticks on the ground, I would be concerned.
That is a very good point, and I feel like the Lions is a team where they could definitely capitalize on all the mistakes and especially that kind of stat line there you just said. And would you say 33 carries? That's, yeah. Lions are definitely, you can't do that.
33 carries for 82 yards will not cut it against the Detroit Lions.
You can't do that with the number one Detroit Lions.
It just won't.
Yeah, totally.
How about the one moment you guys saw Zane Gonzalez, his little routine as he made his way out for the game-winning kick? Did y'all see his? It's been all over social media. He's got OCD, Sam. So he's taking his helmet off over and over. He's touching his ears. He's going crazy. You could tell the pressure of the moment was there. A doink that goes in is a good field goal. So I commend him for doing this thing because they've had a lot of kickers off and on. So
wow. That's cool.
Yeah, my last thought is that it's hard to root against a player like Terry McLaurin, so I'm happy to see him succeed.
Yeah, he got a touchdown, right?
Yeah, he did. I'm having some technical difficulties with my camera. It's all good. My vocals are still there. But no, I mean, the thing for me, I think with the Bucks, and especially with Baker, is I think he earned the contract that he got this past offseason. I felt like he did enough. I do feel like that run was a little late. I think he could have done a little bit more in the first quarter, second quarter, but I'm happy to see what the Bucks are doing. I'm thrilled to see the Commanders. It's going to be a tough game next week, but should be good. I'm happy.
You think Sam Darnold's Week 18 performance affected this performance?
Oh, do I say that again?
Like, you know how he kind of struggled against those Lions in Week 18, you know what I'm saying, in the Vikings-Lions game in the last week of NFL? He didn't perform well, but do you think that affected that? Or you think he kind of tried to, it's kind of similar to, in my opinion.
Well, we talked a little bit about this game in terms of, Minnesota just looking abysmal against these Rams. I mean, I think it was a lot of pressure playing Detroit. I think I think there was a lot of nerves, a lot of just overwhelming feelings where they were just like, hey, we really need to win this game. And I think having 2 games back to back, and also having a game where you're looking towards the next game, which I think a lot of what Minnesota was doing with the Rams, I think played a huge part into it at the end of the day. I mean, dude, you can't have 9 sacks, though. Like, holding the ball so long, looking like the Statue of Liberty back there, those extra pats for me. I mean, Mike, my thing is, do you think the bag was on his mind these last 2 weeks? Forget the playoff.
Let me take a moment to formally segue us in, since we're on Vikings-Rams. So the Vikings had a terrible game, and the Rams won this playoff game, which they were the home team, but in Glendale, Arizona, because of the evacuations from the fire. And the Rams won this game 27-9. So, yes, the Vikings played abysmal. I don't think you're thinking about money, to be honest with you. I do not think that Sam Darnold is thinking about my contract as he's playing this game. I think you're genuinely trying to win your first playoff game of your career. I don't think money is the thing that's on your mind. I definitely feel like the pressure of the moment is there, and the pressure of players not getting open and Jared Verse breathing down your neck and these defensive tackles and defensive edge rushers. It obviously played a part. So the pressure of the moment existed. I don't think that it was predicated on if I need to perform well to get paid. Like, the dude's making millions of dollars already.
Sam, how do we feel?
I feel like it's give big props again to the defensive front in this game too. I mean, man, 27-9. Rams in a way don't really have that home field advantage in my opinion, because it's not played in SoFi, it's played in Glendale, Arizona. So I feel like it was a disadvantage for the LA Rams. And as we talked about with the LA fires affecting, it could have affected some of the athletes. And at the end of the day, as I talked about in the last episode, Matthew Stafford been there, done that. This playoff was, it was a tough team, but he had that experience. In terms of offense, you don't really see an eye popping kind of statistic here, but a playoff team knows how to win, and I feel like the Rams. It was the difference between a veteran quarterback versus that quarterback trying to find his first playoff win.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota. I mean, I think it was a master class in terms of the coaching. I think you have kind of Kevin O'Connell, who was on McVay's coaching staff during that Super Bowl run. I mean, Mikey, I know you love coaching, and I know you love great strategies. You feel like McVay said, I gave you good plays, but I didn't give you my best plays because when I tell you, I think the Rams just looked like they just knew what they wanted to do and were able to do it every single time against against Minnesota. Mikey, talk to me. Did you feel like the Rams just had a better strategy? Do you blame Sam Darnold for this game, or do you mainly blame Kevin O'Connell for the game plan?
I mean, it's hard to blame anyone if your receivers aren't getting open. The players have to execute, and there was a lot of plays. 9 sacks cannot be attributed purely to the offensive line breaking down unless you're the Bengals of that Super Bowl run that they went on, because that offensive line could not hold up. There was some coverage sacks this game. You could see on fourth down balls, Sam Darnold's looking to go to someone, and there's no separation. No one's open.
Yeah.
Game planning aside, leadership needs to take responsibility for it. So it has to go on O'Connell. Who else can it go to?
I agree.
Sam mentioned that there's no eye-popping offensive stats, and I think that that's what shows like the Rams just did enough to win this game by not making mistakes. The fumble, scoop and score was the nail in the coffin with how anemic the Vikings offense was. And when you can't produce first downs, you can't rush the ball, there's not much you can do, and that's where it goes against you. Not to mention penalties. Penalty yardage comes into it, and bailing out a team by committing holding penalties on third downs or roughing the quarterback, and when your offense can't get anything going, the battle of field possession is important. Where starting field position is very important. And so 2 first downs was good enough to pin the Vikings, and they couldn't sustain a drive. And yeah, this game was very disappointing to me because I had the Minnesota Vikings as my pick to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
More out of like a rooting standpoint. Sometimes we pick the team that we think that's the smartest to win, and sometimes we pick the person that we just have an instinct or we're rooting for. And I think I find myself guilty as rooting for an underdog. Even though they won 14 games, I still felt like we rooted for the underdog here.
I mean, he was
And it goes to show.
yeah, first year starting quarterback, and I feel like I have a question where does this playoff game affect Sam Darnold's value in this free agent market now?
Most definitely, 100%. I know you guys can't see me for right now. Sorry about that, fans. I promise you, for the next episode, we won't have technical difficulties with my camera. But no, in terms of, I think the value of Sam Darnold. I think Week 17, right, heading into that game with Detroit, he was going to be offered about 50 million, 45. You know what I mean? I think high 40s, maybe mid 40s. I think now he's getting Baker money. That's what I think. I think he's going to get about 30 million, 25. And I'm going to be honest, I would not be surprised if someone said, you know what, let's get you a 1 year, 26 or $30 million contract, and then a next year team option for maybe 50 million. So instead of a team being on the hook for 85 million, 90 million over 2 years, you give him a year where it's like, hey, we're going to give you 30 million guaranteed, and then we'll give you an extra 55 million, again, guaranteed next year if we accept your team option. But yeah, I think he lost himself tens of millions of dollars. I think he put himself in a position where he was going to acquire generational wealth, and now he's just going to be, a rich quarterback, in my opinion. But yeah, I think it was just difficult just with everything. I think, and again, I do blame a little bit of Darnold in terms of holding the ball.
Yeah.
But I gotta tell you, like Brian Flores, I thought he was a master defensive coordinator. Where was the defense for Minnesota? You know what I mean? And when it comes to just offensive play calling, like what happened? Like what happened? Because Sam Darnold, when your dad texts you and says, "Hey, is Minnesota playing with a backup?" and you tell them that he started most of the games this year, all of the games this year, that's a problem. Yeah. Literally, I got a text message in the middle of the game saying, "Is that the backup quarterback? I'm confused. I thought Minnesota was nice." For real,
he is the backup. He is the backup quarterback though for the team. There's that's like we can't act like he wasn't their backup. That's why he earned himself a good contract by playing well, but he was their backup. They drafted a quarterback in the first round of the top 10 who injured himself preseason, and we still have to accept that about Sam Darnold. He played like a starter, he played like a Pro Bowler, but he didn't play he played with house money. So when you don't have that pressure on you because you're the backup, maybe that's part of to attribute to his success. Let's remember that Kirk Cousins was just signed for 4 years, $180 million off of his success with the Vikings. And already he's been benched, but that's because the value you give the quarterback when you're dying for a quarterback is that high. So do I think he should get paid $45 million per year? No, I think people should have learned their lessons now that we've seen what happened with Kirk Cousins this year. But I do think I would sign Sam Darnold for $20 million a year, which is great for a quarterback who was out of the league and out of a position not too long ago. It's like Geno Smith with the Seahawks.
Oh, Seahawks, yeah.
Hasn't really done anything in the deep playoff run, but still deserves to get some money for playing well. And that's two Jets quarterbacks who were rinsed out of that system, and I'm happy to see them succeed.
No, you're right. I mean, Sam, how do you feel? Do you think that he lost himself a solid 10, 20 million, or do you feel like him being a backup, like he did a great job and he deserves some bread coming up?
I feel like you can't take the credit away from the regular season on the Viking success. I think he did lose like a couple million. I feel like 10 million maybe too much, a couple million. But yeah, like what Mike said about having that backup quarterback mindset kind of thing could have affected him. But maybe a couple million, but we'll see. I do agree with you, David, on give him like a year, and then give him that team option and see if he takes it, see if he bites. And a good AAV for that year, 25-30.
Man,
not the highest quarterback, but like I agree.
You give him a fully guaranteed contract, 2-year fully guaranteed, where the first year I'm gonna give you all your bread at the signing bonus. If you make it to April 15th next year, you get an extra 50 million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, I feel like that's not a terrible situation, especially when we've had the situation with Dak where he's on the hook for 85. The Dallas Cowboys are on the hook for 85 million for the next couple of years. They're not going to do much.
Yeah.
I mean, so my concern, which I want to raise for both of you, you put Sam Darnold not with Addison, Jet, Aaron Jones, Kevin O'Connell, an elite, and an elite defensive coordinator, like, and he still kind of craps the bed when it really matters most. Are you going to get a better kind of offensive, like, lifeline? You know what I mean? Other than this, like, are you going to get anything better than this? So, do you see any other teams, right, with this type of offensive juggernaut of a lineup that Sam can be inserted to and actually continue this type of play? or do we think that we put him on a crappier team like New Orleans, you know what I mean, that he's going to be able to do something?
New Orleans is not a really great offense, I feel like, to go to right now, and they also have Derek Carr's contract to contend with, so I'm not really sure that that's a landing spot. It could be his old team, the New York Jets, if Aaron Rodgers leaves, who's going to be their quarterback. It could be the Cleveland Browns, who Deshaun Watson has ruptured his Achilles again, so probably we will miss all of next year. Could be the Raiders, who Gardner Minshew was their quarterback. Could be any of these crappy teams, right? Maybe the Giants. Who's the Giants quarterback? Daniel Jones is gone now because he's on the Vikings. So maybe they'll do a little crisscross, right? I don't think he'll be as good offensively, but he should be a better option than what they have now.
One team that sparks for me is, what if he goes back to the 49ers as a starting quarterback and bye-bye Brock Purdy?
You think they're gonna let go of Purdy and not pay him? I wouldn't pay him. Don't get me wrong. I would take Sam Darnold over Purdy any day of the week, twice on Sunday, which is when they play. But I mean, I don't see San Francisco, like, I feel like if you weren't good enough to outbeat Purdy in San Francisco, then you're not going to go back to San Francisco. I think they would have done something where they would have kept him on and gave him a $10 million or $8 million contract and said, hey, like, we're just going to see what Purdy can do this year. But, you know what I mean? So, also, I don't think
they have him.
Huh?
They have him for one more year on his rookie contract.
They have one more year with him.
Purdy, you're saying?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Purdy for one more year, so they're going to have to make the decision sooner rather than later on that.
Mikey, what would you do? Would you sign him again for $25 million and see what happens?
Who, Purdy? Or Purdy's going to get paid more than that?
No. I'm saying, would you sign Darnold with Purdy on his rookie?
Instead of Purdy? I don't think so. I feel like it's like it would be a rude thing to do, but the business is ruthless. But I don't think it's the right thing to do after how Purdy performed on those runs and was willing to take a back seat if Shanahan was able to bring Tom Brady in a couple seasons ago. I think that Purdy has earned it and has played with grit, even with the arm injury, the elbow injury, has played through. It's hard to come across a good quarterback. So if you have one who knows your system and has succeeded, I tend to lean there. But he didn't have a great year this year. So, hey, Darnold performed well with offensive weapons. But Deebo Samuel really wasn't reliable. No Christian McCaffrey wasn't. The team didn't play as well. So I think the argument can go both ways, that Purdy might deserve money or maybe he doesn't deserve that much.
How do we feel about Matthew Stafford and the Rams, who a couple years ago, last year, the end of last year, we were thinking, is Sean McVay going to leave? Is Stafford going to retire? Are they going to trade Kupp because of, just to get some more draft capital? Like, do we feel like the Rams are playing with house money right now? Did anybody expect this from the Rams? You know what I mean? I'm wondering, can McVay and Stafford go on a run one last time? Because it's looking like an elite quarterback and an elite coach wins the game. We got Jaden Daniels, we got Josh Allen, you got Lamar, you know what I mean? We got CJ Stroud. It's looking like elite quarterbacks with great coaching are going to do this. Do we think, the Rams, maybe they might not be able to beat the Eagles, but do we feel like the Rams are somewhere where we thought they were going to implode? Do we think they might be able to do something in the next couple of years?
I mean, Stafford's contract, he has one more year left, and he's going to be 38 next year. So, in my opinion, I feel like the Rams are going to run it with him the last year of his contract, and I feel like Stafford might retire when he turns 39 and when he's a free agent that year. So I feel like for the Rams, they have this year and one more year. So they're just going to run it with him, in my opinion, and then seek for a future, or even start looking on the last year of his contract, which is next year.
I'm not really sure I'd give the credit to Stafford in this game. Like, he played good enough and had a good opening drive, but it was the defense that won this game without a doubt. And that's what will take them if they go. Let's not forget Aaron Donald was the best defensive player in the league basically every year they played the game.
Yeah.
And that has to be a huge reason why they won the Super Bowl. He had the game sealing play by getting the pressure on Joe Burrow to force that incompletion. So, as much as credit as Stafford deserves, he had a Triple Crown winner that year. Cooper Kupp was the MVP of that game. All of those numbers he put up in Detroit was with Megatron. Stafford deserves the credit, but I'm not quite sure that I would say it's like, oh, Stafford and McVay have done it. I feel like McVay deserves some credit, but yeah, we'll see. I think they're going to have a tough time against them Eagles. I think actually we should talk about these games, but these upcoming games. But before, to quickly recap for the listeners, for this wild card weekend round, myself, YBK, and Camden, we were all on the same page and had the Ravens, the Bills, and Eagles coming out as winners. And we all had a singular dissenting game each. I took the Texans, who won. Sam took the Rams, who won the game. And David took the Commanders, who won, which leaves us all with a record of 4-2 after the divisional round.
Let's go.
So not too bad. Winning records at least. We all went one game above 500. I wish I would have. I think the one game that I would have changed my mind was the Commanders and Bucks game. I was gonna pick Vikings no matter what. I'm not gonna lie on that. But I wish I had took in the Commanders because I feel like I was very split on that game. I just felt like Buccaneers were more dangerous. Shall we get into some of these games that we have coming up? And
yes, sir. We got 4 games. We got 4.
Yeah, we got 4 games for the divisional playoff coming up. Let me lead us off here with the first game, the Texans and Chiefs, guys. So this is a rematch. They played a few weeks back. They played in December. Kansas City came out with the win, 27-19.
Of course.
Kansas City has Hollywood Brown coming back.
Oh,
you have
finally.
Right? They have Nuke Hopkins on that team too. DeAndre Hopkins looking to make a postseason run. You have the legendary postseason Kelsey. How do we feel going into this one? Because I think that we know that the defending champs should be favored when they're playing in the playoffs, and they're looking for a three-peat. I feel like I'm not looking at a big upset alert on this one. I'm definitely thinking Kansas City should be playing from as the favorite here. Any X factors that y'all have for this game?
For me, honestly, even for all these matchups coming up, I'm going all to the favorites here. They all have home field advantage. All the number one, well, like not number one, but all the favorite teams, they're all in home field. So I feel like not even X factor. I'm just in this matchup against the Texans and Chiefs. I have to just lead on. Chiefs gotta find a way to win. You know how I said every episode. David, how do you feel?
I gotta be honest. I think Xavier Worthy is going to be in a huge reason why these Chiefs possibly win this game, and I also am really excited about Travis. I think Travis Kelce is going to be somebody that is going to be able to change the game. If Patrick Mahomes can be Patrick Mahomes, I'm not expecting it to be a, how can I say this? I don't expect it to be a close game. I really don't. I think by the second quarter, Chiefs are going to be fine. But I am saying I think Worthy and Travis, I think, are going to be 2. And Noah Gray. Don't forget Noah Gray. Got 3 guys that I really think if they have a big game, they'll be all right.
Coaching is a big one on this too. Andy Reid has been around the block, and
yes,
Andy Reid's trying to make a run for that Mount Rushmore of coaches. So we'll see what D'Amico Ryan has to say about it.
Do we all have the Chiefs kind of winning this game?
I think
so.
Well,
let's come back to the end. We'll do our picks at the end like we did last episode as well.
Okay,
let's highlight each, and we'll come back and we'll put our picks down here.
Gotcha. Sounds good. What do we got next? We got the Commanders at Detroit on Saturday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Um, yeah, as what we said about the Commanders and Bucks game here, I feel like with those amount of carries and those 82 yards, 83 yards they ran for, that cannot happen in this Detroit game. Especially Detroit coming in very dominating in this NFC, looking very scary at their home too, and I mean their octane offense, right? So it's gonna be a tough one for the Commanders, but I mean, hey, they can always upset teams, and the playoffs is the perfect place to upset teams. But Lions looking good here. What do you guys think?
The quarterback position will be important for this game, of course. Jared Goff, who's taken pretty well care of the ball this year, has just got to make sure to take care of the ball because Jaden Daniels will know that's where the edge lies. I think that this is going to be the biggest spread of the week with Detroit coming in at a 9.5-point favorite.
It's crazy.
Yeah, this is going to be the biggest spread, and this is the one that I got circled. This one I got circled right here. Good wide receivers for Detroit and for Washington, but no, I think I'm on St. Brown, right. It's like McLaurin. They're similar level. I feel like it's not like a JJ or a Jamar Chase. And it's going to come down to that running game. If Jahmyr Gibbs can pop off like he did in that last week versus the Vikings, especially with them coming off of some rest right now, they deserve to be the favorites. I just trust Jaden Daniels a lot after seeing his performance in that first round. So I think that this game is a little bit tilted in Detroit. If they had less injuries, I would feel more comfortable slamming Detroit to cover a 9.5-point spread. But I got to ruminate on this for a few moments, boys.
Ruminate.
He said I got to ruminate. I mean, the thing with Detroit is they are banged up, and I think them not having Minnesota or having to play Minnesota, I don't think Dan Campbell want to see Minnesota. I really don't. I think to be able to beat a team 3 times in general is very difficult. You're going to get a rookie quarterback to be able to kind of do whatever you want to do to. I think, Todd Bowles does have a history of being a great defensive coach, but he's not the, seeing ghosts type of defensive coordinator, even like Flores or others. So I definitely see, Campbell just going crazy, just in my opinion. One thing that I am concerned about is the Detroit running game. I know Jahmyr Gibbs has been phenomenal, and I know that he's been playing out of his mind, but can he keep that up? And if he gets hurt, what are they going to do? Because I really feel like out of any team who needs their players to stay healthy on offense, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is that guy. And can Brian Robinson Jr. do something for Washington to kind of give them that extra lift? And that spread is crazy. I feel like 9.5 is a lot, but again, you're playing a rookie quarterback.
Yep.
I'm gonna throw this out to you though. Monty is back. He's off the injury report. David Montgomery's off the injury report. So that's the two-headed beast that the Lions had last year. He's back. So that's your answer for what will happen if Gibbs can't run the ball. Monty's back, bro.
Okay.
So,
Sonic and Knuckles are back in the building. I'm loving it. Loving it.
Yeah.
Sonic and Knuckles. It's gonna be tough for the Commanders. 9.5 is crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
How about a game that doesn't have as big of a spread? Because I feel like this might be like the highlight of the weekend that I'm expecting. I think that this might be the one that we have the most differ on as well, which I think is the most competitive. It's a rematch from earlier this year as well, with Baltimore going into Buffalo. This might be probably the most contentious game, I think, of the playoffs so far when it comes to like matchup predicting. Because
Guys,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to talk this one through with y'all right now as well to think about it.
I mean, guys, you got the King and Mr. Jackson versus Superman. Like, and that's the thing. Like, the thing that's tough for me to kind of wrap my head around is that Superman doesn't lose. Superman, the only kryptonite that Superman has in the playoffs is Mahomes. That's the only person. It's the only person that gives him fits. And when you're playing against Lamar, Mr. Jackson, who has sometimes faltered in the playoffs, the shoe's gonna drop. It's kind of like how I felt about Darnold. The shoe drops with Lamar. Lamar has a 1 touchdown, 1 interception, fumble game, and loses it in the last few minutes. This could be that game. I really believe that. Josh Allen is on a tear. It is the battle of who is the MVP. That is this game. 12 o'clock. 3. What is it? What time are they playing? 3:30. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're playing 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern.
Oh my goodness. It's gonna be Monday morning quarterback is gonna be, I think, one of the best segments that we ever have heard from a lot of guys. We might have to go on Monday instead of Tuesday. Shoot, because it's gonna be a big game. I mean, Sam, how do we feel about Superman versus the King? How do we feel?
I feel like this is going to be a pretty spicy matchup. Out of these 4 games, I feel like this AFC divisional matchup against these Ravens and these Bills are going to be the top highlight. I mean, the Ravens beat the Bills this season 35-10, but that was early in Week 4, and the Ravens were at home at M&T Bank Stadium. But as Mikey mentioned, Buffalo at Highmark Stadium are 9-0 this season. And I'm a big number guy, guys. So you know me. I love statistics, so I'm going. It's gonna be a coin flip in my opinion, 50-50, but a slight edge on these Bills because they're at home. It's definitely chilly over there at M&T in Baltimore, but this chilliness in Buffalo is different. The air is different, so it's gonna be quite of a matchup to see here. Definitely circle in your calendars, everybody, because this matchup is going to be crazy. MVP versus MVP. I mean, 2 MVP candidates going against each other. So let's get it, guys. I'm so excited.
We thought that
Sam, take us home.
Yeah, take us home.
All right, everybody. We got the last divisional matchup here. We're going to talk about Rams at Lincoln Financial against the Philadelphia Eagles at 12 o'clock Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern at NBC Peacock, Telemundo, Universal, and many more. And you guys, this matchup happened before at SoFi, but they're going to have this duel at Lincoln Financial. I mean, both teams coming off a great defensive both defensive games, and the output the defense gave to the squads definitely helped them triumph against the teams in the wildcard matchup. But man, I feel like this is again going to be a battle of the defense, and I'm not really scared here, but we can't just scratch off the Rams here. Guys, how do you guys feel about this matchup? It's going to be pretty crazy here too.
It was 255 last time. It's 255. Okay, I'm not worried about nothing. Okay, I'm not scared of the Rams. I think when it comes to that defensive situation, I think they used all their Infinity Stones against Minnesota, and I'm looking at a rout in this game. I mean, I see Saquon just going crazy. I think the weather is going to have a lot to do with it.
Yep.
I think the Rams go from playing in a dome to playing outside in the cold when it's going to be freezing in January. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Freezing.
And I think Saquon is on a mission and he can see it. I think when it's different when it's like, oh, it's our wild card weekend. It's like, okay, now he's like, oh, I'm only a couple games away and I could do something. Till 2-some, and maybe 255 might come back again. So I'm really looking at a great game for the Eagles. If they stop that run game though, it could be a long night. Could be a long night for Jalen Hurts. So I don't know, guys. I think the Rams are playing with house money, and I think they're running out of chips pretty soon.
Mikey, how do you feel?
think you guys hammered it home. It's probably going to be a focus on the Rams to stop that rushing attack after giving up 255 rushing yards to Saquon. I just don't know if they have it in them. They get a good pass rush, but getting a good pass rush doesn't always mean that you can stop the run. And for maybe this is the week that they're going to dial in Jalen also to take some bootlegs or some quarterback design runs. He only took 6 last week.
Yeah.
Give him 12. Give him 10, 11, 12 this week. Give Saquon 20 votes. And let's see if the wide receivers can get involved, because Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown didn't really have to do nothing. Dallas Goedert had that good stiff arm and touchdown, but they didn't really have to do nothing.
Yeah.
I still trust Jalen Hurts to throw the ball. He hasn't made many mistakes this year. It's not eye-popping stats like MVP, but he hasn't made mistakes. He only threw 5 picks all year. So I think that this is going to be an interesting game. I'm seeing a lower scoring game on this one.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's a shootout as much as like the potential of a Washington Commanders versus Detroit Lions game. And I'm excited for it. David, you said a good thing. It's going to be cold. Could be cold in Philly. Let's see what happens if Rams going from West Coast out here to the East Coast at this time. Lucky that it's daytime for them. They're lucky it's daytime.
Because older players, older quarterbacks hate playing in the cold. That is one thing for a fact. 2 things for certain. Them boys do not like playing in the cold, especially when you've been playing in Detroit for the last 12 years, and now you're playing in LA. You're not. The cold is definitely going to be a major factor, in my opinion. Dropping balls. We'll see what happens.
It's going to be exciting.
I love it, boys.
All right.
I think it's time for us to make some picks here, y'all.
This is where it gets. Let's get it. Starts off.
All right. I'll set it off with the Texans and Chiefs game. While I do think that the Texans will probably play a tough game, and I think DeMeco Ryans wants to show why he's turned this team around and the new attitude, I am going to say the Chiefs, the defense is going to come through like they have all year. I'm going to go for a 24-17 victory for the Chiefs in this game.
Okay. I definitely feel a similar situation. I think it's going to be in Kansas City. It's going to be a little chilly. I'm seeing a 34-17 Chiefs. I think it's going to be close in the first quarter, and then I think it's over. It's going to be over.
Nice. I'm going 32-10 Chiefs. Destroy domination.
All in agreement on that one.
Yep.
Okay.
They're going to break. Y'all think they're breaking 30. Hey, maybe with Hollywood.
Maybe.
I think so. I think they can. I think they know they need to put up 30. They need to start working on those 30-point games so that they can get ready for later in the playoffs. So that's the only reason why I think it's going to be 30. We got Commanders versus the Detroit Lions.
Who?
Washington Commanders versus the Detroit Lions. I think it's going to be a phenomenal game. Shootout, blew out.
Oh.
But I do see the Blues, the Detroit Lions, taking this. I know I had picked my Commanders last week. I think it was an amazing win for them. I don't see them doing it 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to do 34-20.
Oh.
For the Detroit Lions. 34-20.
All right, I'll go next here. Commanders, Lions. I'm going under favorites. Lions going to win 35-10. This is going to be dominant. These teams, you know what I'm saying? The favorites are going to destroy these guys, the underdogs, in my opinion. Mikey, what you got?
All right. This is probably the one game that I'm going to take the liberty to dissent. I don't think that there's other games on this list here that I see a possibility for an upset. And I'm just going to ride with the Commanders here. I think if there's a team that should be on upset alert, it's the Lions. I think that they've warranted such a big point spread. But we keep saying throwing around the term like playing with house money. When you're a 10-point underdog as a rookie on the road, a rookie head coach, not a rookie head coach, but first-year head coach with this organization and a rookie quarterback, I'm going to go Commanders. I'm going to just screw it.
Nice.
Shock the world.
Let's go.
Shock the world and a lot of people's Super Bowl favorite for this year.
Yep.
Shock the world.
Oh, thank you, Mikey.
I'm gonna let GM Sam go last on this one.
All right.
Only because it's one of his favorites in the game.
You're
His
right.
number one.
Number one.
We got the Los Angeles Rams
Woo!
versus the Philadelphia Eagles. It's looking like it's going to be about 15 degrees, maybe 22 degrees outside.
Oh, it's cold.
I'm thinking a 27-10 Eagles.
Ooh.
I think it's gonna be a 10-10 game at halftime, though. I do see it a lot closer. The score doesn't say how close the game is gonna be. I do see the game a lot closer than you think.
Wow.
Just in how it plays out. You know what I mean? Not the score.
I like this score, David, because I was thinking actually a relatively easy Eagles win right here. I'm not going to lie. I'm feeling like the Eagles are going to play a solid defensive game. I think they're going to try to keep the ball on the ground, to keep the clock running, and to dominate possession. And if the Rams were able to get Cooper Kupp involved more in the last game, I'd feel a little bit better about picking them. But I'm going to go 28-13 Philadelphia Eagles.
28-13 Eagles. All right, guys. You know me. Eagles fly, Eagles fly. We're going to win this game 42-17, baby.
Put 40 on the trigger.
40. Eagles defense going, for 17, but we're going offense octane, everybody. Let's get it.
Right? Offense octane.
Let's
You
go.
crazy, Sam. I say he about to drop that.
Yes.
She said 40 on him.
40 piece. Yes.
All right, well, I'll kick this off since I'm not going to change one of my initial Super Bowl picks, so I'm going to have to rock with them because y'all know how I do. I do think that if there is a formula for beating the Ravens, it's going to be to prevent them from running the ball effectively.
Yep.
And it's going to be to try to keep Lamar inside of the pocket so you can't run past him. And you still got to try to get some pressure on him, but you gotta contain him. I'm going to go with Buffalo 28-17 here.
Ooh.
I just think there has been every year, David, you said it, Lamar will have a 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 1 fumble, whack game. I think Derrick Henry is going to make his life a lot easier this game because he ran all over Buffalo last time. But if Sean McDermott's going to try to stop one person, it's going to be the king first and foremost. Hard to stop 2 MVP caliber players.
True.
Hope that the Bills can pull this off for the sake of my initial Super
Wow.
Bowl picks.
Wow. Oh, wow.
I love the score, but I don't like the team. I'm thinking the same 28-17. I think King Henry
No way.
kind of puts the boy over the edge. I think if it was just Lamar,
Uh-huh.
I would feel great about that. I'd be like, all right, you know what I'm saying? I think the Bills got it. But I think with King Henry, it just brings another level of just brute force, animalistic type mentality. I could just see it. 28-17 Ravens.
Damn, 28-17 Ravens. All right. I guess I'm the last one to go on the last matchup. It's going to be the game to watch in this divisional matchup here in the NFL. Ravens versus Bills at Bills Stadium, Highmark Stadium. Is going to be such a close game. I'm going 31-30 Bills. Very tight. It's going to be an insane atmosphere. Playoffs, you're going to feel it. Goosebumps every play. Is going to be the game to watch this Sunday. Is it Sunday for the Bills? Yes, Sunday. Yes, we got our predictions. Let's go.
Crazy.
But just to remind y'all, so it's going to be the 2 games on Saturday the 18th. Texans at Chiefs at 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern. And then we got Commanders at Lions, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. And then the next day, Sunday, January 19th, we got the 2 games. Los Angeles Rams at Eagles, 12 o'clock Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern. And we wrap it off with the game to watch. Ravens at Buffalo, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern, guys. Let's go.
Sheesh. I love it.
I gotta love it.
Been fun recapping these games with y'all and making our predictions.
Yes, sir.
As we get ready to sign off, I don't know if you guys saw that my very own New England Patriots have come through with our new head coach. Our vacancy has been filled.
What? They fired Mayo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
last week, what happened?
You had the breaking news already. You knew just like everyone in the mother knew. Mike
Listen.
Vrabel is the new head coach for the
Wow.
New England Patriots, former player, just like Gerard Mayo was the former player, so former linebacker. I think it's a good hire. I think we can delve a little bit deeper into this to talk about, head coaching vacancies, how they fill it. But I'm satisfied with this hiring as a Patriots fan, so I'm interested to see how this is going to go.
You know, your boy be keeping his ear to the grindstone. He be keeping his ear in the hood. I heard a couple rumblings from some birdies. And I told the MSD guys, they like, really? This is what you think? This is what you think? And not too long after, my boy Vrabel got the job. The man hasn't got a check from the Patriots since 2008. He made it clear when he was playing for the Tennessee Titans that he, when it comes to the Patriot way, it's a very different type of environment when he's in the building. But I really enjoy this. I really think Vrabel, has the understanding of the Patriot way whilst not being just only a Patriot boy. I think his entire career, he did some coaching in college. He's ran his own NFL team with Tennessee. He's been a great defensive coordinator. So, I'm really excited about this hire. Another my people in Boston, my people in Massachusetts, in New England, they let me know that there might be something else brewing in the building. Josh McDaniels might be coming to the Patriots as the offensive coordinator. You only heard it from MSD Sports and your boy, Mr. Club Paradise, Camden Elite, but I'm letting you know that the band might be getting back together and it might be something nice. But I'm feeling really good about this. I'm really excited about it. I think the Patriots can make the playoffs next year.
Oh, spicy.
There might be a spicy take. You might have to clip that and put it out a little later. It might be in the playoffs. So,
New England Patriots playoffs 2025.
Damn, how do we feel about this? How do we feel about the Patriots and Mike Vrabel, former player, now coach?
I feel like that's pretty cool. I mean, the Patriots need a rebuild. I mean, you guys have been such a dominating franchise over the past, while we were all growing up, and I feel like there's always need for change, and I feel like this is a great, refreshing time for you guys. And you guys told me that this guy was an ex-player. He knows he been in Boston, been there, done that too. So, pretty exciting time for y'all. I feel like, in my opinion, and hey, get that draft pick, and start fresh. Let's get it.
I think it's good breaking news, and honestly, I feel like we'll have. There's a lot of head coaching things to talk about. For the Patriots, I'm happy because Vrabel did well with the Tennessee Titans, even when they had a roster that wasn't really a highly touted, talented roster. Let's see if he can do the same with us.
Nice.
Did you guys see, Sam, in your very own division?
Yeah.
Mr. Mike McCarthy was indeed let go
by
the Dallas Cowboys. So there is now a head coaching vacancy with Dallas. I know there's a couple of rumors. Of course, you got prime time Deion Sanders as a rumor there.
Yep.
Actually, a former Cowboy himself and the current offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, Kellen Moore, is rumored to be one of the top prospects for that opening too. So, be interesting. I don't think anyone really wants to go to Dallas.
Nah, that's a tough
from our perspective on the outside, it feels like no one really wants to go to Dallas. But if you could bring that franchise to success, you will be highly praised and lauded. So, what do you guys think?
I mean, Mike going, 50 and 38 over 5 seasons. I think it's tough when you've had Dak being hurt a couple times throughout those years. I just don't see what Dallas is doing at all. You had time earlier to talk to a couple coaches during the quote unquote tampering time. You didn't do anything. You waited to the last minute to let go of McCarthy. You blocked him from interviewing with the Bears. What the heck is the Dallas Cowboys doing? I mean, I saw Jerry Jones on a nice scene in Longman. He was talking about, what it's like, working with the Dallas Cowboys, working with his children, how much love that is. I think the man needs to be doing a new cameo at Longman because, if Steven can run the team and Jerry's occupied being on TV, I think the Dallas Cowboys could be able to do something. But I'm really frustrated. I really liked McCarthy. I felt like he did a lot. He won games even with Cooper Rush. You know, the team was gallivanted against him even with all these injuries, CD being out. Dude, having Dion to be possibly the coach for the Dallas Cowboys, I know it's kind of a long shot, puts a lot of seats and a lot of butts in those seats, and especially with attendance of the Dallas Cowboys practice this past year being down, I think 40%. I think they need a big splash. They need some big money to be coming in there, so Jerry can be relevant. Wow. You know, one thing that I want to talk about. You know, we're winding down this episode, but I did want to talk about a coach that might be rumored to be leaving, possibly being traded. Mike Tomlin. Ooh. Now, you know, we were talking about, you know, the Pittsburgh Steelers being mediocre, barely making the playoffs, getting out in the first round, and not getting these draft picks. I mean, if you trade Tomlin, it's been done before. Sam, I just want to let you know, coaches have been traded before. You get a first round pick of a nice second rounder, a couple thirds, maybe a fourth. You get a nice little package. Mike Tomlin might be leaving. And it might be, you know, a win-win situation for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because, you know, I think a new voice is definitely needed. Mikey, how do we feel about Mike Tomlin possibly getting traded?
Well, he said, nah, dead it. You never know. I think he has earned the right with Super Bowl wins, always having a winning record, and his tenure and growth with the team. I think he deserves the respect of not being traded. If he asked to be traded, it's different. But for now, I'm going to say a bit of like a overblown rumor, but you never know. He could fit in well somewhere else. I'm sure people in Dallas would love if Mike Tomlin was coaching them. I would have loved him to coach the Patriots. I would
have loved that in a heartbeat. I tell you,
had we not hired Vrabel, I would have loved Tomlin. So
definitely thinking that. Bring a little hood to the city.
Let's get it. They could use it.
They definitely could use it. Guys, I tell you, there's been a lot going on. We got a lot happening this coming up weekend. I mean, are you guys excited? I'm so excited. I know our listeners are as excited. I'm looking forward to it. Guys. It's going to be a great weekend, great NFL weekend. Shoot, do we have any closing remarks? Anything else that we want to talk about before we let the people go?
Hey, I just want to shout out. I know they're still fighting them fires out there, and I know y'all are still out there. So send in our love and support. And, you know, to the friends and fam out there, if y'all listening, you can hit me if you need anything. So,
yes, sir.
Some more playoff football, my guys.
Yes, sir. Playoff football right around the corner. RCR Presents, MSD Sports. Thank y'all for listening. This is episode 10. We're in Apple Music, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, RCR MSD Sports. My name is YBK at YBK up in here. We got Michael Jones, Stefano. We got Camden, Mr. Club Paradise. And let's go. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.